Everybody, and thanks so much for joining us today. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about working in the horse industry, and Sharon and I, we have a bit of a long history in the horse industry, so she knows a fair bit about my background and where I've come from. Basically, I know some of you have some questions to ask later on, so I'll be more than happy to answer those. But I basically want to say to you all that, the most important thing is you've got to just keep learning. The horse industry isn't always the easiest place to work in. You have to actually, be willing to do the hard yards, and you have to be willing to take a few knocks, and it can be pretty daunting at times. One of the biggest problems I find these days with people is that so many people who want to start in the horse industry, they want to turn up and they want to just ride horses. And so much of working in the horse industry is nothing to do with riding horses whatsoever. And there's so many facets of the horse industry that do not involve actually riding. And so you may not be the world's greatest rider and you may not be the world's greatest horse person, but you may want to get into the horse industry. And there's lots of ways that you can do that. So, if you're willing to learn as you go through your horse journey, and if you're willing to keep an open mind about everything that's going on around you in the horse industry, you'll never become pigeonholed. You will always have the opportunity to do something different and to find somewhere in the industry that you fit. And you need to be really open-minded about, what is available out there. And to give you all an idea, in my career in the horse industry, I've worked in a feed store where we also sold saddlery and stuff. I actually work at the moment as a rep for a feed company. I do that as a sideline to my main business. I've worked at TAFE, New South Wales, teaching. And then, of course, I have my actual business now that some of you know about called Cherry Tree Equine. So what I've been able to do is over the years, I've been able to keep taking the most of any opportunities that come along. And sometimes, you might make a decision that's a wrong one, and sometimes you start a career and it doesn't suit you. And you might be amused to know that I've spent time working as a financial planner, amongst other things, and that was a career that I didn't really enjoy, and I went back to the horse industry. So, you've always got to be looking for opportunity. And what I would really recommend is that you learn as much as you can, keep that open mind and learn as much as you can from everybody. And in my business now, I run clinics and I travel all over New South Wales doing mostly horsemanship clinics. And I learn so much from so many of the people that I meet. Not so much about horsemanship, but about other elements of the industry. And that's really, really important for me as a horse person, and for me as a coach and a clinician, in that the more that I know about all elements of the industry, the more I'm able to help all of you who are out there, and the more I can actually, make my time, or make anyone who comes to me, make their time maximize and make sure that they learn everything that they can. If you were looking at starting out in the horse industry, okay, for any of you guys who are looking at a future career in the horse industry, what I would recommend is that you go out and you work in different elements of it. When I was a TAFE teacher, and I used to teach the TVET horse industry courses, at the start of every year, I'd ask all the students, what did they want to do? And I wasn't worried whether or not they wanted to work in the horse industry. I just wanted to know what they wanted to do. And so often the answer came back that they wanted to leave school and they wanted to be an instructor, or they wanted to go and train horses. And if I was going to say anything to all of you, is don't start there. Okay, don't think you're going to leave school and go and be a horse riding instructor or go and train horses for the public on your own. What I would recommend to all of you is that you actually go out and you work with someone else, or you work in a different element of the industry, and expand your skill base and expand your knowledge base. Because if you put your shingle out there and say, I am going to be a horse trainer, or I am going to be a coach, there are very few people who at the age of 18 have the knowledge to be a really, really, really successful in those industries. And that's for two reasons. One, it's the knowledge that you hold, okay? You learn a lot over the years, you know, when things go wrong, when, you know, you make mistakes, you will learn a lot from those things. And that is better off, you're better off to go and make those mistakes and learn those things when you're working for someone else. So someone is there to guide you. Okay, so someone that can help you through those difficult stages. Because if it's your name on the line and you make a mistake, and let's say you're training a horse and you wreck it. Okay, let's say something happens and it has an accident and the horse is no good. People talk a lot. So it's really important that, you know, you don't get yourself into those binds, and more knowledge will help you stay out of those binds. The other reason why I recommend that you don't put your shingle out there and start your own business straight away is because you don't have the business knowledge. Okay, so I really think people underestimate how much your success in the horse industry, if you're going to run your own business, is not determined by your ability to train a good horse or to do a good lesson or anything like that. It is actually determined by your ability to run a successful business. And I actually have a business degree. When I left school, I went to university, I had a business degree. I worked in lots of other industries. I worked in ag, I worked for big rural holdings. I, you know, worked for GrainCorp. Like I said, I worked for financial planners. I worked for milk and juice wholesaler. So what all of that helped me do is all of that helped me get a really good understanding of how businesses work. And you have to remember that as much as we all love horses and you know, we love being with our horses, if you're going to go out and do something like what I do, at the end of the day, you have to be able to pay your bills. And let's be honest, the horse industry has a really bad reputation for not paying their bills. So I'd really love for all of you to never be in that situation. I'd love for all of you to run really successful businesses. So go out and get that business knowledge behind you. And you know what? I'm not saying you have to go and do a business degree. There's so much out there now to help businesses be successful that, you know, you can go and do online learning, you can do short courses, you can do stuff. You guys can do stuff at school. Like if you have the opportunity, if you're thinking long-term about running a horse business and you can do something like business studies at school now, I highly recommend you go and do it, okay? Get that knowledge behind you. You can't gain horse skills generally at school, but I do want to talk about that in a minute. But what you can gain is other skills that are going to help you with your business. In relation to getting horse skills while you're at school, I was talking to Sharon before. I actually have a school-based trainee who works with me. She's an amazing girl, and I'm very lucky to have her, and I'm very grateful for everything she does for me. And I don't even think she's listening to this, but what she had to do to come and be a school-based trainee with me is you can't actually do horse industry through school. She's actually doing agriculture. So she's doing Certificate 2 in agriculture through her local school, and then she comes to me one day a week. Now, there's about 100 schools in New South Wales that offer school-based traineeships in agriculture in one form or another, I believe. So for you guys, if you're at school and you're not really enjoying school, or school's not your thing, if you can get into something like a school-based traineeship, like what my girl is doing with me, I highly recommend it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, you know, it's we all want to see you guys engaged at school, okay? You know, I found school easy. I enjoyed school. But I know not everybody is like that, and I completely get that. And when I was teaching the TVET kids, That's what I was getting. I was getting all the kids who didn't want to be at school. So you know what? I made horse industry fun. I made study fun. So those kids stayed at school a bit longer. And it buys you some time. And, you know, all your teachers and your peers and stuff will tell you, you spend a long time working, okay? You spend a long time out there in the industry, and you spend a long time, you know, giving your life a lot of the times to someone else. So I know school is not, you know, the most wonderful place to be for a lot of you, but if you can find something within the school program that interests you, and if that's doing something like a school-based traineeship and that keeps you at school, it just buys you a bit more time in life, okay? You'll spend 40, 50, 60 years working as it is. So make school work for you if you can, and ask about how you can do some of this sort of stuff. And the other thing, like what I really like with the traineeship is the school-based traineeship is you actually get a really good taste of what it is like to work in industry without having committed to working for someone for a long time. So, for example, with my trainee, she spends most of her times doing all the crappy jobs that I don't have time to get done. And that might be fixing fences, it's catching horses, you know, moving horses. She, you know, might spend time unsaddling horses for me and stuff when I'm riding. She'll spend time making hay bags up, things like that. But that is honestly, if you go and work for somebody, that's probably where you're going to start. You are probably going to start doing those really rudimentary jobs. And the school-based traineeship gives you the chance to actually get a feel for whether you like that. Okay, gets you a bit of a feel for what it's like to work for someone else, because working for someone else is pretty different to school. And working for somebody when you're being paid is very different to going and just spending time with somebody. So, you know, I expect more of Charlie as a paid employee than I would if she was just with me on work experience for a week. Okay, and I did, you know, work experience at a horse place in Sydney when I was in year 10. And I can tell you, like, I worked pretty hard, but now I know that the work experience I did in that week was not what it would have been like if I'd actually worked there full time. Work experience gives you a taste of what it's like to work for people like me, but the school-based traineeship where you're committed for 2 years, you're there 1 day a week, that will give you a much more genuine view of what it's like. In relation to learning, and I was saying before about keeping an open mind and learning, if I can say one thing to all of you, and I kind of wish that I'd done it more when I was younger, it's go and actually spend time with people who are at the top of their game or are good at their game, and learn off them now. And by that, like, what I'm trying to get you to do is experience how different people do different things. A lot of what you'll learn in life when you're working for people is how not to do stuff. And I know my first ever real job, when I moved away from home and went to work, I learned a lot of things about how to not treat employees, about how to not treat stock, about how to not run an operation. And there was nothing wrong with that. It was a big operation, and they were about making money, and that's how they did things, and that's fine for them. But it's not where I want to be. And because I experienced all of that, then I've made sure as an employer, I have not done the things, or I hope, I have not done the things that that company did. And so for you guys, if you can go out and actually spend time with lots of different people and actually experience how different people do things. And I will tell you now, like, even for me now, like I said at the start, you know, I took going to clinics and things, but also like the girls I compete with, and you know, the people who I breed my mares with, and you know, I'm asking questions all the time, okay, because I always want to be learning. But for you guys now, you know, you have more chance than you will when you're working to go out and spend time with different people. And I'm not necessarily saying you have to, you know, become slave labor, but people are really impressed when you have the get up and go to actually go and do stuff off your own bat. And that may mean, you know, ringing someone like me and saying, hey, Michelle, you know, could I come and spend a couple of days with you and learn about how you do stuff? People like me are really impressed by that. And I actually had an incident yesterday where a person who had contacted me about doing some work, and I'm running a horsemanship clinic later in the month, and he's going to attend that clinic, but not ride. He's just going to come and fence sit. And he said, oh, look, can I do anything for you? You know, put me to work. I'm happy to help while I'm there. Those sorts of sentiments and those sorts of ideas and saying that to people tends to really impress them. People are really keen to hear that you're keen. Okay, so, you know, like that fellow, because that fellow has said that to me, now I will go the extra mile in not only in just dealing with him generally, but in my future business transactions with him, because I know he's really keen. And that goes for all of you. Okay, if you are, you know, if you can show that initiative, if you can show that drive to get up and actually go and say to someone, hey, you know, could I help you? You know, I'm really keen to learn. Most of the really good people in industry will support you and will be really helpful. And I had a really good discussion with Dan Steers, actually, of the Double Dans a while ago. And what Dan said to me was, you know, you'll always find the people who are at the top of their game are the people who are generally like really keen to help and really honest and will not knock you down. You know, and that's what you want to do. And by the top of their game, I don't mean they have to be world champions or, you know, headed for the Olympics or anything like that. I just mean people who are successful. Okay. And success is a personal thing. And we all gauge success differently. So, you know, find those good people and find people that other people recommend. Talk to people within the industry and find out who is good and go to them. And, you know, word spreads really fast in the horse industry. I've got a friend who's a really successful horse starter in Victoria. And he was looking for someone. They have people who work with them all the time. And he was looking for someone to come and work for him. And so I'm in New South Wales. He's in Victoria. And, you know, a person who I know had contacted them. So they contacted me to see what I thought. And then they were concerned that this person didn't quite understand what the job involved. So they asked me to talk to the person. And anyway, you know, it's only 3 degrees of separation. Everybody knows everything. Last night I was talking to a racehorse trainer in Canberra. Now, you know, I'm no racehorse trainer. You know, then I was talking to a quarter horse breeder in Sydney, and then I was talking to a dressage rider in Queensland the day before. So, you know, the horse industry is very small. So if you can show initiative, people will talk. Okay. If you can show initiative in whatever it is you're interested in, you know, people will talk amongst themselves, and we will like professionals in the industry will seek each other out if we need to find out about somebody, because hiring an employee is expensive, training an employee is often difficult, and we don't want to waste the time or the money doing all of that with someone who's just not going to cut the mustard. So, you know, if someone rings me, and I actually got asked to give a reference for somebody in Mount Isa recently, and I have to be honest when I do that. Okay, I have to be honest. I am not going to lie. And I don't know whether you guys know, but if a referee lies about your ability, they're actually liable. Okay, so, you know, don't expect anyone to make up stuff about you, because that's not how it works these days. And, you know, I was talking about my friend who's the horse breaker in Victoria. Something that happened with them was this particular person that had applied for the job, as I said, you know, so at the start, you know, you have to be willing to start at the bottom. You got to be willing to do the dirty stuff. So part of the job of working down there with him is that you don't actually ride. You have to be there for a couple of years before they'll actually start to let you ride. You can take your own horse and he will train you, and he's a very good coach. But when this person found out that she was not going to be able to ride for a couple of years, she decided to take a job in Queensland on a station. Now, if you were looking at a long-term return on investment in the horse industry, she would have learnt more with Bruce in 6 months than she will learn in 3 years in Queensland. Okay, but she was not willing to do the hard yards, cleaning yards, saddling horses, you know, cleaning water troughs, feeding horses. She wasn't willing to do that to earn her stripes to then get to actually ride the horses, and therefore she took another job. Where I do not think, if you wanted to be a long-term player in the horse industry, I do not think it would look as good in your resume as you worked in Queensland for a while as it would have as working for this other fellow. So please be aware of that. And on that note, when people come to me for work experience, if you want to get my goat, if you actually want, and I'm sure there's other people out there like this, if you want to get my goat and really annoy me, turn up with your helmet, okay? Because my horses are worth a fortune, and there is no way anyone else is going to ride them. So I get really cranky when people turn up for work experience and the first thing I see them is them carrying the helmet bag. If you're that good, if you think you're that good, then you don't need to be doing work experience, okay? So, you know, and that's, I'm not saying that all you guys aren't amazing riders and amazing horse people, but you start at the bottom, okay? And so please don't be in a rush, okay? The more background you can get in the industry, the better you'll go. And like the connections you make in the industry will also really, really determine your success. You know, I was saying to you guys how I talk to people all over the place. I was at a major event I was actually at a dressage event, and I rode dressage class 23. I sort of didn't give you much of a background on what I've done. I came through Pony Club, did the Pony Club. I'm off the land. We had a farm, chased cattle, you know, went to Pony Club. Then I got into dressage, thought I was going to be a great dressage rider. Then when I was 23, I actually changed tack and decided I'd had enough of dressage. I love dressage. Please do not think I'm bagging dressage or any English event. I changed tack and I actually went into the Western world and I started barrel racing and I started rodeoing and steer on decorating and roping and all those things, and competing in all the Western events. And then as I went on over time, I started my business. My business has been going for 11 years, Cherry Tree Equine. And I have then, of course, you know, done a lot of horsemanship stuff and that. So I've been learning my whole life. But I was at a dressage event and people were surprised to see me at the dressage event, but that was okay. They don't know my background. At the dressage event, the resident trainer, a dressage rider at the event, came and gave me a cuddle. The owner of the venue and his wife both gave me a cuddle. The announcer came, who's very well known in the dressage world, came screaming across and gave me a cuddle. And I'm at a dressage event. I'm a barrel racer, you know, like, so this is the thing. If you can make contacts across the industry, it's going to make your life in the industry a lot easier. So, you know, it's one of the great things about places like Equitana. And I know for most of you guys who are, you know, just come as spectators and stuff, you can't see what goes on behind the scenes. But what goes on behind the scenes is an amazing camaraderie amongst most of the competitors, the presenters, and the educators. And that's because we're not competing with each other. And, you know, like when you do well at those events, it's amazing who comes and in the competition section, amazing who comes and congratulates you. But what happens is then those contacts you make, they then enable you to progress your business and progress your career. Okay, so and I'll give you a really good example. When COVID hit last year, obviously I couldn't run horsemanship clinics. I was shut down. I couldn't compete. And about, I'm going to say 10, a bit longer than that, probably 13 years ago, about 13 years ago, I attended an event in Tamworth, and I met somebody at that event. And he was the general manager of an international feed company. And he was there because the clinician who was one of the two clinicians that doing the event was actually sponsored by his company. Now, out of that meeting, okay, 12 years later, that man rang me up and asked if I'd like to do a bit of work on the side with an amazing little Australian-owned company called Benchmark Feeds. Now, that relationship has, over 12 years, ended up with me working for the feed company. In the meantime, it saw me as a sponsored rider. It saw me get to do some amazing stuff for that company. And that was all because I met this man at a clinic, and I didn't go out of my way. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not big on kissing back ends unnecessarily. If you do something well, I'll be the first to praise you, but I'm not going to give out credit where credit's not due. And yeah, over those 12 years, I've had this amazing relationship, and even now, here I am, doing a bit of work on the side when I can't do my actual business, and I'm still working for Benchmark. They're a great crew. So the people you meet on the way are going to determine how your journey goes, okay? And the contacts you make are going to be really, really important. And don't ever think that someone you meet is not relevant. Everybody has a really interesting skill set. And Sharon and I were speaking before, if any of you go onto the Cherry Tree Equine website, it's a great little website, if I do say so. I really like it. But the girl who does the website for me is a website designer. That's her actual job. But I went to Pony Club with her, 100 years ago. I won't tell you how many years ago. It's a lot. We went to Pony Club together. And then when I needed my website redone, here she was, and she's done an amazing job. So, it's amazing how people will turn up in your life who are going to be really important at a later stage of your life. And everybody has something really, really important offer. The reason why, I'm talking to you guys today is because of a contact that spoke to Sharon. The world is really, really small. So don't ever forget that. But Sharon, have you got questions that you want me to answer? Obviously I could talk a lot. Lost. We'll wait for Sharon to come back to us with if we have questions. But beyond all of that, please don't think that the horse industry is just the bits and pieces I've been talking about, okay? I really don't want you guys to think that, the only thing you can do in the horse industry is be a coach or be, a feed rep or be, a clinician or a horse trainer, okay? There are so many other elements to the horse industry. And they're all different things that you can do. And I'm going out this week. I have to run mares out to Young to the vet clinic to be bred. And the mares that, when I go out there, I know they're on staff. There's a couple of girls who work for the vet, but there's also there's a hoof trimmer who works for the vet, and she doesn't shoe horses. She's just a trimmer. And don't forget about all the really important ancillary businesses in the horse industry, like the feed industry. I worked for a CRT store for, I think, about 8 years. And in that time, I learnt so much about feeding horses and how to feed horses, and I made a lot of really good contacts too. So please, guys, don't think the horse industry is just training horses, mucking stables. There's so much other stuff, and a girlfriend of mine who is originally from out west, she's just recently got an absolutely amazing job with the Charles Sturt University. Now, this girl, she's a great little horse person, but she honestly, she has no university degree. She left school at the end of year 12. She's worked on a station. She's now running at 21. She's now looking after all of the horses that are involved in the teaching side at Charles Sturt University. So she works with horses all day. She works with students. She's not actually teaching. She's just there handling horses and make sure everything happens and looking after them. But the amount of stuff that she is learning is like amazing. The amount of stuff that she's actually learning from being at the university and just hanging out with the lecturers and stuff is just priceless. So, you know, please don't think that it's just what I'm talking about. Now, some of you guys are asking some questions, and I will check them out. Yeah, if Zoe, if you can check it, if you go to the website, it's just cherrytreeequine.com.au, you can get my contact details. That's fine. And Josephine has asked, hi, I'm currently a volunteer at my riding school before and after my lesson. That's great. Okay, that's really cool. From there, what I would like, and you're asking what to do from there, you know, maybe look at, you know, if you can do more with them. Maybe, you know, if you know the vet's coming one day, or you know that, you know, there's something going with the horses, there's horses going away, or whatever, like just ask if you can be involved, ask what you can do. And I know some of the riding schools, some of the in Canberra, they used to have a program whereby you'd start, I know you're about 12, and you'd start as a volunteer and you'd go and you'd, you know, do whatever, muck yards, whatever, and you'd work your way up to where you could actually coach, and they would actually teach you. So, you know, I don't know whether your riding school has something like that. So, you know, please, you know, go and ask them what you can do, ask how you can actually be more involved, and see how you go from there. Michael, what types of jobs can you get into in the industry other than riding? I think I've kind of covered that fairly well. Feed, you know, selling feed, repping feed, working in a feed company, like working actually behind the scenes, making the feed. Benchmark's all made at a mill in the Hawkesbury. So there's obviously a whole heap of people who work there. Working in admin, you know, like breed societies and competition societies and all that, they all have jobs within the industry. So, you know, you can get into all of those. Amity has asked, would I recommend equine science at Charles Sturt? Amity, if that is what you're interested in, go for it, okay? The only way you will know is if you start. And just on that point, when I started at university, I told you all I did a business degree. I actually started out doing wool and pastoral science. I did one semester, absolutely hated living in Sydney, and bailed, and then I went across to Orange and did the business degree. So Amity, please don't think that degree is going to determine the rest of your career. I know quite a few people who've done that degree. I know people who've started it and left it. My vets, I actually takes me 5 hours each way to drive my truck to the Charles Sturt University, and that is where I go for all my veterinary work. So I'm there quite often. I meet a lot of the vet students and stuff. I really like the people down there. I like the university. I like the facilities. So yeah, if you're interested, go and have a look. Okay, get into it and ask some questions. Annabelle has asked, I have my own horse. When I finish year 12, I'd like to get into horse training. As I said, go and work for someone else, okay? Do not think at the end of year 12, and I mean this with all kindness and respect, do not think at the end of year 12 you're going to have enough knowledge to be a successful trainer. Go and actually work for somebody and find somebody that people like me in the industry recommend. Now, I don't know everybody, okay? But I know guys like Dan Steers. He has an internship program. So, you know, I would get onto something like that. And you're asking about getting into barrel racing. Look, the two major barrel racing associations in Australia are the Australian Barrel Horse Society and the Australian Barrel Horse Association and the National Barrel Horse Association. Get on their websites, have a look, see what's going on, but ask people like me. Like, you know, if you want, we want to see our industries grow. Okay, whether it doesn't matter what the industry is, whether I'm a show jumper or an eventer or a barrel race or whatever, we all want to see our industries grow. So please get in contact with people like me. And you know, I don't know where you are, but maybe I will know somebody. Okay, so ask questions. Don't be scared. The worst thing that can happen for all of you, and it doesn't matter what we're doing, but the absolute worst thing that can happen is you will ask, like send someone a Facebook message and they will not reply. Do you know what? That didn't cost you any money and you didn't get hurt and life goes on. So do it. Okay. I think I'm going to regret that because I'm going to have a lot of questions coming my way. Now, Molly has asked, what is the best way to approach the horse industry as someone from a non-horsey background? So, Molly, I don't know whether you've got much experience with horses at all, but I would definitely go and kind of like, I can't think, someone was talking about working at their riding school, Josephine. Just like Josephine, you know, if you can get in with a riding school and volunteer, if there's someone near you who's a trainer, see if you can help them. What is really important to remember is that most people who turn up to learn at places like mine actually cost me more time than benefits. So you've got to be committed for the long term, because there's going to be times when, you know, people are going to be busy and you're going to get ignored, or, you know, resilience. Resilience in the horse industry is so important. You have to be pretty resilient because you are going to get knocked down a lot and you're going to get a lot of rejections. So I would go and start talking to people. See if there's someone near you locally. Maybe just go and offer to clean out their paddocks. You know what? And you might find you come across someone and you go and clean their paddocks and that's all they want you to do. But you might find someone who's willing to help you. I've got a lady coming out for a week of lessons next week, and she's a grown-up adult lady, and she's never had a horse. Knows nothing about horses and wants to get into it. So she's actually paying for a week of lessons with me to start from the very beginning. So, you know, maybe that is an option. So, yeah. Corinne, I'm glad you're going to Charleston next year. Yeah, it's a good course. So Annie has asked, can you do well in the horse industry without a very good financial background? Annie, I laugh because if you know most horse people, they have no money. So please, kiddo, like I didn't come from a rich family. You know, my family are farmers. You know, we didn't want for anything. Please don't think I was hard up. But, you know, money, there's a really cool saying about hard work will beat talent when talent doesn't work hard. Okay, now that's the same with money. Okay, so hard work will beat money when money doesn't work hard. You can have all the money in the world, but if you're not willing to get off your back end and do the hard yards, you will not do well in this industry. We're a pretty critical, cynical bunch. Sorry, but you know, like the thing is with the horse industry is you see so many people who think it's the fairy tale, and I went, you know, like this is no, like, don't get me wrong, I love my job, but this is not a fairy tale. Okay, this is hard work. You know, and I'm out riding in the rain, in the snow, in the wind. You know, where we live at 1,200 meters. Like it snowed at my place about 5 times this year. You know what? I still have to go out and work in it. okay, especially if I have outside horses in. So, you know, don't let money stop you. The only thing that will stop you will be your willingness to put in the hard work, okay? And then once you get a horse, you'll never have any money ever again anyway. So, you know, just, yeah, do it because you love it, not because you want to make money out of it. I think that is all the questions I have coming up in front of me. Oh no, here we go. Thank you, Jody. I actually do. I teach at Canberra Adult Riding Club 3 times a year, and it's a really it's a really interesting experience because there's a lot of different people there. But guys, I know you all have other things to do. Sorry, someone's just asked if you have to go. Go. So Rihanna has asked about working. So Rihanna, I'm assuming that you have your minis, but you want to go on and work with other people in other parts of the industry. Just ask, drop people a line, ring them, go up to them at shows. You're talking about going and showing. At shows, go and watch. This is what I'd really recommend. Go and watch the people that you really are attracted to, like as in the people that you really like what they're doing, and spend some time watching them, okay? And actually, like, you know, really, like, then once you sort of get to watch some stuff, then actually go and ask some questions, and then they will lead into other stuff. But Sharon, oh, sorry, Michael. Sorry, Michael's just asked, and this is really important, I think. Several students have asked me over the years regarding sexism and discrimination towards females. Is there concerns? Michael, that's a really good question, and I know it's really, really topical at the moment. Now, I've spent a lot of time working in the agricultural industry as well as the horse industry, as you probably gathered. And I can honestly tell you, I have never had any sort of problems with the fact that I'm a female, but I'm pretty capable of standing my ground. I will honestly, and I think that like a person who works hard is a person who works hard. Okay, now yes, it exists. Okay, Michael, yes, you know, you're going to find things, but honestly, the horse industry is run, and I mean this with all due respect to every male here, the horse industry is generally run by females. I know that, you know, like the racing industry is a little different. There's a lot of, you know, male trainers and stuff in the racing industry, but the recreational industry, it's predominantly female. You tend to find that males rise to the top as trainers and clinicians. And I think part of that is the fact that they don't get interrupted by other things in their life, like having children. And they all have, and if you spend, and actually guys, if you want to find out what it's like to work in the horse industry, Andrea Frappani, who's a reiner in the States, he's undoubtedly the greatest reiner in the States at the moment. He has a podcast, and I recommend you listen to it because he actually talks about how hard it is to get good people to work in the industry. But, you know, like, it's really an insightful thing, Michael, in that what Andrea talks about is that it's his, and he talks to a lot of the top trainers over there, and their wives are all the ones behind the scenes running the show. Whereas for me, and I love my partner very much, I do everything in my business. He has his own business. So yeah, if I was going to talk about sexism in the horse industry, that is honestly, that's where I think it lies. And as a female clinician, and this is really important to anybody who wants to be a clinician in the long term, as a female clinician, I know that I will never be as popular as some of the guys because I'm a girl. So, and that's not to do with ability, it's to do with the fact that women like to go on to these clinics and be taught by a man. Some women don't. It's great. But yeah, so sorry, Michael, very long-winded answer. But I know it's out there. I know there is problems. I'm not going to lie to any of you, but I think the industry's done a pretty good job of trying to sort a lot of that out. But Sharon, have you got anything else that you wanted me to add?
I think we've covered about all the questions that I had here. I think you've actually covered, which is awesome. Thank you so much. And that was a really realistic, informative session. Like, you can't get it any more clearer than that. Like, honesty is the best policy, and you've hit the nail on the head there. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to email myself or Michelle, and we can get back to you with any questions that you have. If you're interested in talking to Michelle about maybe looking in on some of her clinics or anything, do so. Check out her website. She's a wonderful horsewoman, and we go back a long way. So yeah, thanks everyone for attending, and yeah, flick us a line if you need to. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
Something, Sharon, I didn't say. If anyone does want to, I know I didn't sort of touch much on where I've been in my career, but I did a podcast for Horse Chats. It's an Australian show. I did a podcast for Horse Chats. There is a link on my website to it, and I actually talk all the way from starting at the Pony Club days with Sharon, right through to where I am now, and it is really honest. It is no holes barred. It is exactly what I have been through to get to where I am. So if any of you want to look at, just go to my website and follow the link. If you can't find it, you can always email Sharon and she'll pass the emails on to me anyway. So yeah,
absolutely. Okay, thanks everyone for attending, and thank you, Michelle. You've done an amazing job. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.